Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, today we'll start our new course, Money, Banking and Finance. Basically, this course is divided into three sections. First of all, we will discuss a detail about money, what are its functions, historical evaluation of money, different forms of money, and different other details related to money. Secondly, the next part would be related to your banking section, in which we will discuss different types of banks, commercial banks and central bank, and many other specialized kinds of bank, their operations, their functions. And in the last portion, we will discuss about finance, a major introduction to finance, and also we will discuss certain aspects of Islamic banking. There are mainly four sections of your course. One is related to money, second is related to banking, third one is related to finance, and fourth one is related to Islamic finance. Today our lecture is about an introduction into money, that what is money. As When we talk about money, so it's actually a layman word, or we can use this word in our daily life, but when we talk about money in a technical term, so it is actually an item or verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services, and also it is being used for payment of debts, payment of taxes, or in a particular country or in a social economic context, the main function of money are distinguished as a medium of exchange, unit of account, store of value, and sometimes a standard of deferred payment. When we will discuss these function in detail in the next slides. So the main thing is that money is regarded as a medium of exchange which can be used for buying certain goods and services and items, or you can use money for payment of debts, or you can also use money for store of value. We will discuss these function in detail in the next slides. So once we have discussed that money is something which can be utilized for making payment for anything like an exchange of goods or services, or for deferred payments, or for store of value, we can define money with certain definition. And if we look into the literature of money, or literature regarding money, so in this literature we can find that there are three types of definition related to money. One is a descriptive definition, second is a legal definition, and third one is general acceptability definition. We can go through these definition one by one in the next slide. In case of descriptive definition, like when we are saying that we are describing money, so Crowther suggests that anything that is generally accepted, and when we talk about generally accepted, that means that in at any point in time, or at any shop, or at any event, when you present that thing, it can be accepted by the people, and and it is accepted as a medium of exchange. That means that you can exchange something of value with this money, and that at the same time act as a measure and store of value. That means that you can measure the value of anything with the help of money. Like for example, if you are comparing the value of certain mobile, so you can obviously find out the price of that mobile phone, and with the help of that you can measure the value of different mobile phones, or mobile of different brands, by ascertaining their prices. So you can measure the value of anything with the help of money. Secondly, we can store the value with the help of money. Like for example, if you want to have something in the future, like for example, if you want to buy a car in the future, so you can put certain amount of money in your account, or save certain amount of money. So in that means that you are postponing some of your needs by storing the value of that money for any future purchase. So according to Crowther, anything which is generally accepted as a medium of exchange, or it can be used as measuring or storing value, so that would be categorized as money. Colborn defines money as a means of valuation and payments. That means the same thing is actually being given by Colborn, that he says that with the help of money you can perform valuation. And when we talk about valuation, so the measurement of valuation and store of value both come under this. And in case of payment, so you can use that thing for making payments, for making your payment for certain credit, or you can lend that money, or you can lend certain amount. So it can be, you cannot lend your value when you don't have any common medium of exchange. So for once you can have credit and you can pay that amount with the help of money. So it can be used, money is something which can be used for payment and valuation. According to Cole, money is anything that is widely used as a means of payment and is generally accepted in settlement of debts. So obviously this says that when anything which can serve for making payments, or which can be generally accepted when you want to settle down your debts, or we want to pay your credits or pay your debts, so that can be categorized as money. So main features of anything to be qualified as money is that it should be generally accepted, it should be considered as a medium of exchange, and it can measure or store value, or and it can be used in settlement of payments. So according to descriptive definition, these are the major features of money. The legal definition, and this definition is given by Knapp, and Professor Knapp, and he defined money as anything which is declared by the state as money is money. So it suggests that when something has a legal backing, and that the government has declared that you should use this in making payments, or you can use this, accept this as for payment of debts and anything, so you can consider it as money. General acceptability definition. And what is general acceptability? General acceptability is a term which suggests that people are willing to accept that thing for making for in exchange of certain goods, or in a settlement of debts, and or storing or measuring of value. So Seligman defines money as one thing that possesses general acceptability. According to him, he suggests that when people are willingly accepting something as money, because they think that it has certain value, so they are willingly accepting that. So we can declare that that thing is money. And Nietzsche defines money as anything that is commonly used and generally accepted as a medium of exchange or as a store of value. So obviously something which is being generally accepted in people and at any time when you present that thing for an exchange of certain thing, or storing of value, so it is called as money. D.H. Robertson described money as anything which is widely accepted in payments for goods. So anything which is being accepted for making payment for goods, we can call it as money. There is a modern definition, and this definition is given by DC Colanders, who define money as any financial asset that makes the real economy function smoothly by serving as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, and store of value. First of all, what is financial asset? When we talk about asset, so asset is something, a resource which will provide benefit in the future. So it's a financial asset which actually provide financial benefits to the people who possess that thing, and it will be helpful for making payment for certain factors of production. When we are talking about Indian economy function smoothly, that means that when there is money, so the goods and services are being smoothly produced, and the factories of production are being very smoothly paid, and this thing can be used as a medium of exchange and a unit of account. That means that you can measure the value of certain services or goods or any other product, or you can store value. According to modern definition, obviously anything which can be used for making settlement of debt, making the medium of exchange, making your payment to different factors of production by making real economy function very smoothly, so we can consider it as money. Now, as we have discussed different definitions of money, and we are clear about money, and we can say that we can explain money by the function it performs. But there is certain other concepts like wealth and income, and wealth and income can be measured with the help of money. But there is a difference between wealth and income. So wealth is actually it actually includes money and other assets like land, property, cars, shares, furniture, which is being possessed by a certain person. So wealth is something which is being possessed by certain person. But when we talk about income, it is actually the flow of money earning per unit of time. Like for example, the money, cash flow, or money which is coming in a day, in a week, or a month, or a year. So that is called as income. The addition to that wealth, like for example, when you are earning certain amount in certain time period, so that is considered as income. So wealth is something which is being possessed by certain person when it has a certain assets, like a fixed asset or any other asset, financial assets. But income is something which can be earned in certain time period, and it is actually flow of income which is coming to a certain person. Another concept related to money is money and near money. What is the difference between money and near money? When we talk about money or asset that is can be easily converted into money without the loss of value is called as near money. Like something which is very marketable, like at any time when when you present it for a sale, people are willing to buy that, and you can get cash more frequently and with less effort and with less transaction cost. So that can consider as near money. And the increase and decrease of the near money can influence the economic health of the economy. Obviously, you the these near money can be used for saving value. So when there is increase in the amount of near money, so it can make the economy wealthy. And if there is outflow of the near monies from the economy, like capital flight, they are going out from the country, so obviously harms the health of the economy, because obviously you have less reservoirs of near money available into your accounts. So when you have when there is increase and decrease in the amount of near money, it can directly affect the money supply. The money supply is something, the inflow or the circulation of money within the economy. So when there is increase and decrease in the amount of near money, it can directly affect the money supply of any country. In Pakistan, we have three major components of money supply. We have M1, M2, M3. M1 is the amount of money currency which is in circulation within the economy, plus demand deposits of the saving banks. These are the demand deposit which are actually readily available, and at any time when the depositor come, they can have that amount, plus the other deposits with State Bank of Pakistan, like the State Bank holds the reserves of many commercial banks, and also the money or many other foreign currency reserves. So all these things, all these deposits are also included in M1. In case of M2, that is which actually include M1 plus the time deposit with scheduled bank. These are the fixed deposits, fixed time deposits, which are being deposited in the in the scheduled bank for a fixed time period. These deposits plus all of the components of M1 constitute the money supply M2. The third M3 is include all the components of M2 plus NDFC, that is National Development Finance Corporation bearer certificates. These are the certificates being issued to the people who invest in these certificates, and they can get amount the return on these certificate. Plus there are certain deposits of national banks saving schemes. These are the saving scheme offered by the national banks, and they have collected a certain amount of money from these saving scheme, plus deposits of cooperative banks. These cooperative banks are established in certain localities in order to promote the development of that certain area. So the deposit present in these cooperative banks are also included in M3. Stages in the development of money. As we have already discussed, definitions of money, different definitions of money, and the difference between wealth and income. And then we have already discussed mere monies and different components of money supply. But what was the historical overview of money? Because the modern form of money which we are using is different than the money which is being utilized in the previous period. Like in the prehistoric period, the certain goods were as certain as a medium of exchange, and that was being used to perform the functions of money, like medium of exchange, store of value, and certain other things. So these commodities, like for example cattle, wheat, rice, fish, certain arrows and all, or knives, or certain other things were utilized as money. But there were certain problems associated with this form of money, and at that time this system of exchanging goods with goods, or commodity with commodity, was known as barter system. But barter system has certain problem, which for due to which metallic form of money was introduced, in which certain metal was ascertained, and certain metal was selected to perform as money, like gold, silver, nickel, etc. But these if we look into the metallic money, there are two forms of metallic money. The earlier form was unstandardized coin, but people had problem with valuation and debasement and other thing. So then after that, standardized coins were introduced. But those problem which they had with uncoin metallic money was not overcome by introducing this uh, standardized coin. So in order to overcome the problem associated with metallic money, paper money was introduced. But paper money had many advantages, and today we are using paper money. But paper money has certain stages as well. But as first, full convertible paper money was introduced. But after that, it was the convertibility was decreased, and now the fiat money was introduced. The fiat money is the type of money which have no backing behind it. Is actually only a legal tender, and people accept that as money because government has declared it as money. Then comes your credit money. The credit money is a type of money in which checks were being used for making payments and also as a medium of exchange, but it don't have a government backing behind it. So you can say that it is not a legal tender money. Then after that, now today, electronic banking stage comes, and in electronic banking stage we have variety of options available for making payments and for making purchases and other things. Like we can use different type of cards like credit cards, debit cards, or we can make payment through online. Now the modern form of money is your digital money, or you can say bitcoins, which is actually an online currency. And this online currency is used for making payments and for purchase and any other things, or for storing of value. But in Pakistan, bitcoin is not legal, but in many countries it is legal. So the money has gone through different stages up till now. We will discuss all these stages in detail in the next slides. The first stage in the development of money is the commodity money, and commodity money is the money which has a value apart from its use as money. And in a previous period, or in ancient time, certain commodities were used as money, like cattle, goats, horses, wheat, grain, rice, salt, and many other commodities were certain as money. And these commodities are being exchanged for certain goods and services. Uh, the period of commodity money can also be called as barter system. And when the barter system were used, there were difficulties in use of commodity as money, like when you are exchanging goods for goods. So there are certain difficulties associated with that. For example, difficulty in storing them. When like there are many agriculture items or certain animals were used as money, so you cannot store a large amount of grains or large amount of cattle, because it needs space, it needs certain space for storing them. So there was a difficulty of storing these commodities. So that was the first difficulty. Second thing is lack of durability, because many agriculture items are perishable, so you cannot store it for a longer period of time. Thirdly, lack of transportability, because if you want to purchase a large quantity, or if you want to make a large transaction, transporting of large amount of commodities, or cattle or grains, it's something very expensive. And so the lack of transportability is another difficulty regarding commodity money. The fourth thing is lack of divisibility. This is actually the case when you have a cattle and you want to exchange with a small amount of grain or rice. So in that case, you cannot divide a whole cattle into small portion. So the lack of divisibility is another hurdle in commodity money. Fifth thing is lack of homogeneity, because most of the item used in the commodity money are agriculture item or animals or any other thing. So there is there is heterogeneity between these items. Like one animal or one cattle or one horse is not 100% like the other horse. Or if you have a certain batch of rice and the other batch is not exactly like the first batch, so in that case there is lack of homogeneity. In certain times you have lower quality of product, in certain times you have higher quality of product. So in that case it created a problem in evaluation. So these are certain difficulties in commodity money. And there were the people who are using and who are making transaction felt that meant difficulties in using this ad money. So in order to overcome difficulty, certain options of different things are being analyzed, and after that metallic money was introduced. Now when as we have identified that commodity money was rather very difficult to use. So in order to overcome the difficulties of commodity money, metallic money was used. And in the first stage, when metallic money was introduced, uncoined metal such as gold, silver and copper were used as a medium of exchange. And these these metal coins has an intrinsic value. Intrinsic value means that if you have a coin of gold, so like it's of 100 rupees, so it has 100 rupees metal of gold in it. So the intrinsic value and the face value was equal, and which has so we can say that it had the intrinsic value was reflected in the face value. So the coin was fully bodied coin, and it has a full amount of value in it. So this first introduction was the full bodied metallic coins. But when using these metallic coin was a little easier than commodity money, but there are certain other difficulties arised when the people were frequently use this as money. These difficulties are that people do not know the weight and value of the piece of bullion at side, because it's simply a piece of metal. It was not standardized coin. So when you are presented it for any purchase or any payments, so at that time, by only seeing it, people cannot ascertain the value and weight of that piece of bullion. So that was the main difficulty. But another difficulty was that the with the discovery of mines of gold and silver, the supply of money, the supply of this gold also increase and decrease, in which the value can be increase or decrease, because whenever you have more supply of gold, so its value declined. So in this fluctuation, the problem arises, and people were suspicious of the values of these coins. Then transportation and storage of these precious metal was also very dangerous, because when you are transporting these precious metal, it can be stolen, and there were it was unsafe to travel with such a large amount of metal. Then debasement of metal further cause inconvenience and complication in exchange. Like in certain time, in order to have the amount of metal, certain time people melt these coin, or they can tear a piece of gold from that unstandardized coin. So it make problem, because people don't accept these things, and there were inconvenience and complications in exchange. In order to overcome the difficulty associated with unstandardized coin, these unstandardized coins were replaced by standardized coinage. That means that the metallic coins, which has a guaranteed value, weight and value by a competent authority, and they had also the intrinsic value as well. So there were authorities were certain, and these authorities were responsible for issuing these standardized metallic coin, and there are certain punch marks around the coins, so in order to avoid tearing and debasement of these coins. So these coins, when issued, they have intrinsic value. That means they were also fully bodied coin. The standardized coinage were introduced in order to overcome the difficulties of uncoinaged metals, but the problem still remained the same, because coins were clipped and abraded and melted down, because people want to save amount of metal, or these coins can be debased. That means they can be teared, or the obviously discoveries of more mines of gold and silver were introduced, which can increase and decrease the value of these metal. And obviously transportation of these metal were also difficult. So the problems were not overcome with the development of standardized coinage. So it was felt that there should be another form of money which can overcome all these problems. So in order to overcome this problem, paper money was introduced. The paper money was introduced to overcome problem associated with metallic money. And firstly, when these paper money were introduced, they were actually the convertible paper money, which is a paper money that may be redeemed for a specified commodity at a rate specified on the currency. That means you can convert that amount with the same amount of metal or commodity. So these were convertible paper money. But nowadays, in the today's economy, the paper notes are inconvertible, as we cannot convert them with the amount of metal which is written on that paper. So they are nearly neither fully or nor fractionally convertible into gold. The statement written on banknotes, "I promise to pay the bearer on demand," is worthless. So the paper money circulated today and are used in the today's economy is fiat money, and it has no backing behind it. Now another development is fiat money. Fiat money consists of paper money that derive its status as money from the power of the state. Like it is a form of money, but it has a legal backing from the government, and it is called as a legal tender money. And as the government has declared it as a money, so the creditor has to accept it as a medium of exchange and payment of debts. And the paper money which is circulating nowadays is a form of a fiat money. Advantages of paper money is that it is actually lighter than coins, but there are certain disadvantages of paper money, as payment in large amount is difficult to count, and but it can be overcome with with the introduction of a counting machine. And expenses to transport, now online payment can overcome this problem and can be easily stolen. Credit money, actually credit money is use of checks for payment. Like for example, uh, uh, you can use checks for making payments and collection, and accept checks for collection as well. There are certain advantages associated with using credit money, like easier to make large transaction and large amount, because a check represent the amount of money present in the bank, and it can easily be transported for making payment. Then disadvantages of using credit money is that check is not actually a money. It is representative of money which is in the bank, and it is also not a legal tender, like it has no backing of the government, and government has not declared as it as a legal tender money. And they are in that way they cannot enforce anybody to make payment in or accept payment in checks. Now, electronic banking system nowadays, this electronic banking system is used. In this case, the use of magnetic strips, cards such as credit cards, debit cards, telephone cards, smart cards, etc., bitcoins, all these are actually electronic banking system, and these are the modern type of the money. There are certain advantages associated with electronic banking system, like less processing cost. It leads to the reduced lead time for making payment, as when you make payment in checks, these checks are being collected, and they are actually presented at the bank from which they have to take the money, and then you have to take that money back to the bank account, and so on. There is considerable amount of time spent in verification and collection of cash. But in case of electronic money, the lead time is less, and the payment can come frequently in your account. And it increased flexibility in choosing the mechanism of payment. Like with the help of electronic money, we have variety of payment options, modes of payment. Like we can pay our bills through credit card, through our debit card, and through any other smart card, making or doing shopping in certain stores with the help of smart cards. But there are certain disadvantages associated with using electronic banking system, like the electronic banking system, or the money which are being used, or electronic money, has no legal tender. It has no the government banking behind them. It's not a legal tender money, and obviously it's not a legal tender. Therefore, you cannot enforce anyone to accept it as for collection for a deferred payment or any other payments.